So welcome to the Rebound Live webcast. We are recording. It'll be an hour or less. We appreciate everybody joining the group. It's so good to see familiar faces. I look forward to this monthly Rebound Live webcast. Have so many growth-minded individuals that want to support the community. We've all rebounded from something, or will need to rebound from something in the future. Our goal is self-actualization, to reach our fullest potential, to learn and grow. And I challenge you all to think, and maybe we can share before we're done, what is your one-word goal? Or actually, I should say vision, since we're going to talk about vision today. What's your one-word vision for you in 2022? The next hour, we'd like you to mute your mics. As I mentioned, this is recorded. Please be on video unless you're driving. Raise your hand if you have a question, the emoji hand, or a thought you want to share. Those that are joining for the first time, Rebound Live for the first time, please put your email in the chat. The other thing, I want this to be an environment not only where you learn and grow, but if there's somebody on the webcast that you want to connect with, you can go ahead and connect with them directly, either through the chat, LinkedIn, or let me know. I don't want this to be a mass email where people are trying to sell products all the time, but I do want things to happen organically where you say, hey, I'd like to learn more about what that person does, or I feel like I can help that person. And I know that's happened already, but I want to encourage that to happen organically. Today's topic is how to create a winning vision. And I was fortunate to play basketball for great high school coaches at Holy Trinity on Long Island, where Danny Dolan and I attended, and then play at North Carolina for Dean Smith. Growing up playing athletics, especially in the New York area, had so many people, so many teams to root for. But there's, I think people aren't sure, and I had to look it up, what's the difference between a vision and a goal, a vision and a dream? Why is one more important than the others, if at all? And so I think that, and obviously I want everyone's input. What is a vision? Why is it important? Is it important? How do you share that with your team? I think that vision is kind of a big, audacious, you dream and then there's a vision. I think the dream is more ambiguous. A vision, now it becomes a little more specific and far-fetching, daring. And then the goals are more granular in terms of the steps it takes to reach your vision. But a vision you may never, ever accomplish. It might be that carrot that is out there, continually out there, that we chase, that we aspire to be. In doing some research, Pia Robson, the Thrive Global, said, vision is a clear image how you see your future. Vision is aligned with your deepest values and priorities. Vision is aligned with your deepest values and priorities. It is of what you believe in or what you want to become or create. It is your desired future. Vision inspires, motivates, keeps you excited about what you do. I think that's so critical. Visions inspire, motivate, keeps you excited. That is key, I think. And that's why I think they're important. You can set vision, for example, for your life, career, or relationships. You can set vision for what you want to have, to what you want to do, to what you want to be. When you have your visions ready, ask yourself, how can I achieve it? That's the goal setting part. Setting the goals will help you with this. Goals are specific targets that move you towards your vision. Goals can be set, for example, for feelings, results, skills, knowledge, new job, physical, mental training. Goals help you stay focused and on track. It is a good to check at times the goals that you set still serve you, whether circumstances have changed. As you write your goals, make them very specific and quantifiable in some way. It is also important to express them positively, like when you write them down, not what you want to avoid, what you want. It's like in golf, when you're on the first tee, you don't say, don't hit it in the water to the left. You say, hit it to the right. It's amazing the power of the mind. Finally, note that you should write in present tense with a clear time frame for achieving your set goals. Last year in November, I wrote down a goal and I put it on my desk. My vision is to be, and this is where it's risky, right? You got to be in a safe environment, trusted environment, but then sometimes you don't care. I want to be one of the best executive coaches in the country. I want to be one of the leading keynote speakers in the country. That's my vision. Now, people might say, oh, what a joke. Who do you think you are? That's okay. So last year I wrote down, and this was with Vistage, the group I work with, in November of 2020, I wrote down, it is April 15th, 2021, and I've launched my first Platinum Performance Peer Group. I have 8 clients in my advisory group. I'll have a second group by December 15th, 2021. I feel very proud of launching my own practice and creating financial independence. Those things happened and made me feel pretty good. I think that's a great way to write goals. And I think goals come out of your visions. So a quote that I'll leave you with before we take it to the next step. If you limit your choices only to what seems possible or reasonable, you disconnect yourself from what you truly want. And all is left is compromise. Let me repeat that. This is by Robert Fritz. If you limit your choices only to what seems possible or reasonable, you disconnect yourself from what you truly want. And all that is left is compromise. Robert Fritz. Well, I just went on a 9-minute rant. I'm passionate about vision, goals. I was fortunate to grow up in an environment where you could dream, you could have goals, and people supported you. And you know what? If they don't, screw them. But growing up with Danny Dolan playing CYO basketball, I wanted to play in the NBA. I wanted to be a college basketball player. I didn't make the NBA. That was my vision. I didn't make it. It still hurts, but boy, I got close. And when you think of people with hairy, audacious visions, who comes to mind? And Brian, think about that, and we'll come back to that. Brian, you have your hand raised. Welcome, Brian. Long Island's finest chaminade flyer.
All of that, Matt. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm gonna take it just a little bit higher. You actually mentioned chaminade, and it's a book that I read in my junior year of high school that I've read every decade now for the last 4 decades. It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And it's probably one of the most important books I've ever read in my life. And each time I read it, I get new, I get new takeaways from it. And the last time I read it, it really had an impact on me. I had, just turned 50, and he asks in the book, what is the meaning of your life? And it's such an incredible story. He is a psychiatrist who went through World War II in a concentration camp and lost his family and had lost everything. And before he went in, they took away his manuscript that he was writing. It was this book, and he literally had to rewrite it on scraps of paper. And but to me, that's the ultimate vision, because everything else it leads towards that, right? When you talk about, so you wanted to be in the NBA, and you wanted to be a great coach, and you want to do all of these things, but what is that leading you towards? It's the meaning of your life. It's that space, between the day you were born and the day you die. And so that's the ultimate vision.
Yeah. How do you find that, Brian? How do you find that? And then how do you have the courage, find the courage to share that? Because, you got to bring people along for the ride. You've got to risk, but so many people, I think are afraid to do that because they're afraid to be ridiculed.
That's just, listen, a lion never worries about the opinions of sheep.
Yeah.
All right. You can ridicule me all you want. It doesn't matter. We grew up in big families. Everyone on Long Island, if you had I think the minimum or the average family size in where I grew up was like 6 kids, right? And there were 6 boys and a girl in my family. I had every emotional nerve beaten out of me by the time I was like 8 years old. So the idea of somebody ridiculing me is laughable. But you and I also are part of another group. And in that group, we learned that, vulnerability is the new invincibility. And
that is such a great quote, Brian. You shared that with me several months ago. I bring that up all the time. And that occurred yesterday in one of my Vistage meetings where a young man who owns this business, that we call it issue processing, he laid out his issue. He was vulnerable. As a result, he grew. He allowed the team to impact him because he was vulnerable. He did not get defensive. He shared some personal stuff, and that's where you grow, man. That was powerful. So I think of that quote all the time. Vulnerability is the new invincibility.
No doubt. No doubt, because you're right, because that's where you get to the root cause of the problem in a lot of ways. What's holding you back from your dreams and your goals? Otherwise you're just putting out whatever the fire is that's in front of you, that's 3 to 5 feet in front of you. You're not so it's like, we talk about being in the weeds of life or in the clouds of life. Right? In the weeds, you see 3 to 5 feet in front of you. You don't see your vision. You don't even see the end of the year goals. You get up in the morning before your feet hit the floor. It's okay. I got a problem employee. I got a problem client. I got a problem with my process, the way I do business. And you're playing fireman for the whole day. But if you're able to look at from your business and your life from the cloud, 20,000 feet down, and you go, holy shit, this employee or this customer has been the root cause of my problems for the last 9 months. And that's that vulnerability. That's where you don't go to the cloud alone. You go with your board of advisors or, the people that you trust, and you kind of open the kimono to them. You go, okay, here's where I seem to be stumbling. Here's where I was. Here's where I am now. Here's where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And they all look at it. And the beauty is that everybody looks at it from a different angle and a different perspective. And that's where you're sharing your vision with them, mm-hmm. right? You're saying, this is where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And they all look at it and they say, well, here's the problem. You got to fire your 3rd largest customer. You know, they're requiring way too much of your company's time. They're not paying you enough revenue. If you get rid of them, you'll be able to free up all of these resources for other customers. Your employees hate dealing with them. He's a pain in the ass. He's late with his, you know, invoices. He's the source of most of your problems, but you have had him for the last 5 years, and that's what's been keeping you from where you want to be. And you just didn't have the courage to do it. That's that vulnerability aspect, is that when you really stand naked before the world, instead of ridicule, people are going to go, holy shit, this is all you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
To move on.
Powerful. Who, anybody else with, first of all, I saw it was a Tiffany. Welcome, Tiffany. I think you're new to the group, right? Why don't you introduce yourself, Tiffany?
Hi, I'm Tiffany Vandemark, and I'm an executive coach and speaker. David Van Daff invited me to join your group today. So thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you so much. Where are you located, Tiffany?
I'm in the very warm Jupiter, Florida.
Oh, way to rub it in. Thank you very much. Yeah. Tiffany, I think you were the one that asked about that quote. Did you get the quote down?
I did. You repeated it. That's amazing. What a great quote. Thank you so much,
quote.
Brian.
Yeah. No, good stuff. Anybody has anything, raise your hand. It's so cool to see faces back. When I think of vision, and then I see Mike Palmer on the screen. Mike was a great player at St. Agnes High School. I hated him with a passion, but I loved him with passion. And you know, you think of vision, and it's so easy in sports, because my vision was to be like Mike Palmer, like to be like Malcolm Caesar. Malcolm Caesar was a great player at Holy Trinity. And I remember seeing Mike Palmer cut down the nets at Hofstra University in 1976, I guess it was, Mike. Five. And I jokingly, I told Mike this, I wrote it in the book. I had a bunch of Tootsie Rolls in my pocket that I snuck into Hofstra so I wouldn't have to pay for their food and snacks. And I had a couple left. And as I'm going off the court, he's cutting down the nets. And I took a Tootsie Roll out of my jacket pocket and fired it at him and missed him, fortunately. And a man grabbed me. I was walking out with my dad. My dad didn't see it. A man grabbed me and basically disciplined me and said I shouldn't do that. And he was right. But I was pissed off at Mike Palmer for beating Holy Trinity. But that was my vision of cutting down the nets and being a great player like Mike Palmer. And I think to have people that come before you is so important. The way Mike shot the ball, the way he played so damn hard. I wanted to be cutting down the nets. And then 6 years later, 5 years later, I was cutting down the nets at Holy Trinity High School at Hofstra, like Mike Palmer did, winning the Long Island Championship. So you have to have some people that go before you that aren't afraid. And then you can't be afraid. You can't be afraid. You can't be afraid to say, I want to do what Mike Palmer's doing. I want to cut down those damn nets. And you got to tell somebody. And the ridicule is, I remember when I said, I want to play in the NBA. People would say, oh, you're not good enough. You know, and they had a bet with my girlfriend at the time. He'll never make the NBA. Well, tell me I can't do something, right? I didn't make the NBA. So what is that in your life? And who has those that you look at our country? I mean, Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs come to mind, you know, Abe Lincoln. You go down the line of all these great achievements that if we don't have people with these hairy, audacious visions, and then the discipline to set goals and go after the goals, we don't have America. Marlene, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to share with you the vision of.
Let me interrupt. When you say hello, it's just for the sake of people getting to know you and be familiar. Your name, what company you work with, what do you do, and where are you from?
Okay, well, my name is Marleen Jansen. You say Marleen, but I say Marleen. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm an HR manager at a consultancy company. I've been studying in the US. That's how I know Matt a long time ago. I've been working in HR for all of my career. Currently, I'm in France, but as I was explaining before, that doesn't really count because in Europe the countries are so small. So what I wanted to share is the vision of a Dutch guy called Poise. I don't know if you've heard of him, but what he says that if you want to reach your goal, you need three things, and it's a sum. You can make a sum of it, and it's three pillars. The one is motivation, the other one is capacity, and the third one is opportunity. So now if you make a mathematical sum of it, if one of these three is 0 or very low, you're not very likely to reach your goal or your vision. So you can be highly motivated and you can have the capacity of being a great basketball player. But then if you don't get the opportunity to be in a country where basketball is big, well, you don't get anywhere. You will never reach the NBA if you stay in the Netherlands. And on the other hand, if you have the motivation and you have the opportunity, you go to the US like I did, but your capacity is, mediocre. You can be 6'2", but still not good enough to go. I wanted to play at UNC. That was my goal. I saw you guys play on Friday afternoon, Matt, you and Michael and all the guys, and that's where I wanted to be, but I couldn't. So I made Elon College, which was also good, but it was not what I didn't have the capacity. And then if you have kids or other employees that have a great capacity and you give them all the opportunities, but they're not motivated, well, they won't get anywhere. So what we do in coaching is we look one of these three things need to be stimulated. Do we need to give people the opportunity if they're highly motivated? Or do we need to give them courses to change their capacity? Or are they just not motivated enough? And then there's no point in giving them opportunities. So it's in a model, and I can share it later. I can see if there's anything in English, but it's a model. The mathematical model is showed, and it has always been a great help in my career. So I just wanted to share that with you.
I love that, Marleen. Thank you for how you broke that down so beautifully. What is the person's name that you said?
I will write it down. It's Poise, but it's Poiez. I will write it in the comments, and I'll put a link to at least to his Dutch website, but I'll see if there's anything in English.
Listen, I'm big in this hour. If we can learn one thing that we can take with us to help us get better, because all my goals as a player and a coach every day was to get better today. Marleen, you just helped us get better today. Brian just helped us get better today with sharing the quote in the book, Man's Search for Meaning. And then these three pillars: motivation, capacity, opportunity. The most frustrating thing, I think, as a coach and probably as a boss and owner, is when you find somebody with a lack of motivation. And they could be doing a good job, but they can do better. This was a topic yesterday. And you've seen it with great players. I had talented players and I wish I had their talent and they just didn't love it. And, you can't really change that person's motivation. At least I haven't been very good at doing it. So if anybody has some any advice on that, please share. David Van Daff, introduce yourself, please.
Excellent. Thanks, Coach. David Van Daff. I'm with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I am based in Chicago, Illinois. And I wanted to start by recognizing the powerful Dutch presence on this call. With a name like Van Daff, we've got Marleen, we've got Tiffany Vandemark down at the bottom. I mean, we're very rarely do we ever have a majority. This is a rare circumstance right here.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, good people. Good people, smart people.
That's right. I wanted to share, we started talking about vision, and I'm not one to immediately come up with, a couple of different visions in my head. I really have to think about things. But I was tasked some years ago to create a mission, vision, and philosophy, just a one-pager. It was actually a poor leader, but it was a really great task, and it forced me to do so. And so I created a one-pager. I actually printed it off as we started talking about this and just got back to what I had recorded. And I've got about 10 different mission statements in here. I've got 5 vision. I've got 6 or 7 different philosophies that are primarily quotes. But it was a great exercise. And there are 2 things that I have gone back to over the years from a vision perspective that stick with me. They're more generalized. They're not necessarily specific goals. But the one that really gets me is to pursue a noble career path with passion, ambition, and fire. And Coach, you just talked about motivation. That's a big one for me. I've got to do something that consumes passion, has my ambition, and gives me a fire in the belly, gives me a drive. If I don't have that, I just don't feel like I'm maxing out my capacity, and I should be looking at doing something differently.
Repeat that. I'm repeat that slowly.
Absolutely.
I'll write it down.
To pursue a noble career path with ambition, or I'm sorry, with passion, ambition, and fire. I'll put it in the notes. And then the other one that I want to call out on here is to become a master at my craft and a trusted, dynamic, and creative leader. I mean, obviously, all of us want to become masters at our craft and want to be good at what we do. But trusted, dynamic, and creative. Trusted, to me is something important to most, but also that dynamic and creative characteristic of being a leader, I think, is incredibly important in terms of leading a crew, not to become monotonous and boring ultimately and traditional, but always be thinking in a creative fashion. So those were 2 things that stuck out, and I really highly recommend, if you haven't done this, sit down, take an hour, take a couple of hours, take a day, a week, whatever it may be, and record out mission, vision, and philosophy. And don't limit yourself to just one for each. Spend some time and figure out what's important to you.
Let me dive a little deeper, David. I'm not going to let you off the seat here. What in your mind is the difference between mission and vision?
So that's a good question. I remember going back on this a couple of years ago and actually reading into definitions. Mission to me is, I'm going to paraphrase here a bit, but mission to me is somewhat of a life philosophy and a path to follow throughout life. Vision is more so what's in front of you now. So a mission is more all life encompassing, where the vision is the direction that you're heading, who you want to be, and how you want to live your life.
Gotcha. Thank you. Those are hard to explain. And I think the challenge, I'm going to ask you one more question.
Sure.
You came up with this. Who'd you share it with? And how did they react?
Shared it with the leader that assigned the task. And once again, not a great leader, but great assignments, and went through it. And then I printed it. I had it up on my bulletin board. And like so many other things that you look at it a couple of days, and then you kind of forget that it's there ultimately. I'm not sure if I've shared this complete document with anybody else. It's been front and center. Anybody that's come into my office has seen it, but not necessarily something that I sent off to my team or sent off to family members or anything to that degree. More personal.
Thank you. Good stuff, David. You always add great value. Ray has your hand up. Welcome back, Ray. And your better half, Christina, was on the call earlier. I think she's still on. There she is.
Still is. That's what happens when you start working together.
Yeah.
You end up doing things together.
Yeah. What a concept.
What a concept. Hey, I'm Ray Tomasco. I'm the managing partner of Reese Marks. We're a global expansion firm. We help companies expand into new territories, executive search, and employment loss. Coach, I want to follow up on, you said, how do you help employees, or how do you help players who have the ability but don't want to show it? or can't do it. It's funny, we spend a lot of time over the last couple months with our employees. COVID wasn't affecting global expansion, I can tell you that. It was a boom business over the last 2 years. Absolutely crazy how companies are moving, expanding, and trying to get out of bad situations and into new. So we looked at our employees over the last 6 months, and I was in a meeting yesterday with my VP of sales, and you look at them and you basically rate them, coach. There's only certain things that we can do. I believe that you got to inspire your employees to get better, inspire them to be more creative, inspire them to take that next step. But there is a stopping point on where they are. So maybe they're happy at that. So that means you're going to have, as we always say, your bench players. Why are they there? They're sitting there because they also bring a big positive to do certain things. I have some employees that are accelerating, and you give them more, you add more to them, you give them more tasks, you give them more ability to have freedom, and they expand. Then there's others that you just have to sit there and let them do what they do best. And maybe that's going to make them happy. And you need to make sure that you're inspiring them to do those little tasks that they enjoy, and they're going to be a benefit. They're not going to be that next, CEO or go out and start their own business. I've always been a small business owner, and I have 7 employees that I've hired over my career that now have businesses, and some of them gotten bigger than mine, which is fantastic. And they're best friends. I got a call over the holiday that one of them sold his business, and life has just created something that he never thought he was going to have.
That's powerful.
How do you inspire them? So take those bench players, let them do what's best, and give them something else. And maybe there's a stopping point. And as long as they're happy, let them do it.
And that goes back to Marlene's 3 pillars: motivation, capacity. Maybe their capacity is here. As long as they're adding value to your organization, let them do what they're doing.
Correct.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Ray. I appreciate it. Tiffany, you've got your hand up. It's Dutch Day here at Rebound Live Webcast.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. DVD and I talk about that all the time. I think that's why we're so close. I just want to, this is so amazing. I executive coach my teams on your mission is your magic. And always have your word for the year. My word this year is magic. And if you don't believe in magic, you'll never find it. And I use the 3 M's when I'm coaching them: their mission, mindset, and move. Your mission really gives you focus. And we pull a lot of their personal values. And it's, everybody's got their corporate mission statement. This is their personal mission statement. So we work on their personal mission statement. And then the mindset around that. Your mindset helps to manifest that mission. So I like everyday hacks, celebrating small wins. You can change your mindset like this. And then move. How are you moving forward every single day to accomplish those, to get closer to your mission? And I love that it's a very simplistic, the 3 M's. They go together, and it all starts with your mission. So the vision and mission and everything we're talking about today just goes in so well, and I'm learning from each and every one of you. So thank you.
Well, Tiffany, thank you for sharing. You said your mission is your magic, right?
Yes.
And what is your mission? You said your word for this year is magic?
Yes. My mission is to empower women to live their best lives, to accomplish their dreams, and find their magic.
Powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you haven't already, Tiffany, please put your email in the chat, and that way, if people want to reach out to you to learn more about what you're doing and maybe your website,
Okay.
that's really cool. Thank you for joining us, and
Thank you for having me.
I expect to see you on a monthly basis now. You're officially in the club.
Awesome. I look forward to it. I'm not on the bench, guys. And that was so, Ray, that really resonated with me. And I so appreciate you sharing that, because it's something that, you overlook the bench players. There's Chiefs and there's Indians. We need them. And I really appreciate the way you worded that. And it's given me, a moment to think. We need to make sure we enjoy and respect and value them.
Well, if you go to the, I'm big on assessments, and the DISC assessment is the DISC, and the biggest part of our population are S's, and that's the steady state. Those are basically the bench players. And if we discount them, we're going to cut out a large percentage of the population, and we need those bench players to to fill the gaps, to support, to execute, to step up when needed, moral support. They like harmony. They like to be part of the team. They like to lead from behind, and we need those shepherds. So yeah, I'm going to jump to Mike Palmer. I liked Agnes over Chaminade, so I'm going to jump Mike Palmer over Brian Moran. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Matt, and thank you for your kind words earlier. I've always considered it a huge responsibility that young guys on Long Island didn't look up to me, and it affected my comportment growing up. I felt like I had a responsibility, which is a pretty good segue into my mission and vision for 2022. I consider my mission a promise to myself. It's very personal, and it's rare that I share it with people, including my own employees. But my promise to myself is to approach my business as a vocation and a ministry, to allow God to use my work to accomplish his or her work. And I take that very seriously. And it's allowed me to be a successful business person, mostly a headhunter, but a consultant for 33 years. And that's very personal. I don't share that with many people, but I pray every morning and night that God use my work for his work or her work. And then the vision is the external, what I want the world to see, and to take that and to drive growth for my clients. Without my clients growing, I'm not going to grow. And if I see to it that they grow, I'll share in their growth. And it took me, a long time and a lot of soul searching to make those the foundations for my business. But we've had our best 5 years, one after another. And 2021 broke all our records. 2020 broke the records before that. And I feel like at my age, 64 years old, I'm finally hitting my stride.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's freaking awesome. That is awesome. I'm not going to throw any Tootsie Rolls at you right now, Mike. I'm lifting you up to cut down the nets. What prompted? I get goosebumps when you talk, and you continue to inspire me. Praise you approach your business as a vocation ministry to allow God to use you. Is that? Can you repeat that?
My work for his work. That's my daily prayer, is that God use my work to accomplish his work.
And when did you start that? When did you come up with that?
Yeah, I think it was always inside, but I never acknowledged it. When you grow up the way we did, you feel you can control everything. And it really came into view when my twin sister died 4 years ago.
Jeez.
where I felt like there's more to life than making money. You know, there's a whole lot more to life than having your own company. And you know, in the last 3 years, we've hired some great people, like the gentleman who preceded me. And there's nothing that makes me feel better than to write them a holiday bonus like I did last week. I mean, that meant more to me than the having the years I've had the last few years. So when you share it, and you know, and I learned it from guys like Tommy Konchowski, and I mean, the you know, the idea of approaching your work as a ministry is not my idea, or you know, I mean, I learned that from Konchowski.
Wow.
But
Wow.
you know, Tommy, nobody was more responsible for people, young guys getting scholarships than Tommy.
Right.
And I talked to him one day, you know, why do you do this? And he said, well, I wanted to be a priest, but I found a way to have a ministry in life, and it was through basketball.
Yep.
And so that was always really powerful to me. But hey, I still love making money. I mean, I don't want you to think like, you know, I mean,
You're not getting soft. You're not getting
Money-
soft, on Mike.
money allows you to play Pro V1s, you know, but I think it was when I always had it in me, but it wasn't until Michelle died that I really saw a bigger world out there. And
I'm
And
going to
I'm
ask
glad-
you one question, and I'll give you 30 seconds. You got 24 seconds shot clock. I know you played for a coach that didn't want you to take a shot
you
in less than
froze up.
7 seconds. Why haven't you shared that mission with your team? It broke up here. I don't know if I'm breaking it up.
Because it's really very, you know, I think it's okay. I got most of that. I think this is one of the reasons we do stuff like this. So we actually can say things we don't say to our employees, and because I don't want to. I want them to be greedy. You know, I have a 34-year-old kid. He's killing it. He's knocking the lights out. He's not at that point of his life that I am, and I don't want my vision to impact his goals, you know. And but maybe I will. I mean, you know, that's one of the reasons I do things like this, is, you know, is to get feedback from fellow business owners. And
Well, I
you
think
know,
I think that as Brian said earlier, vulnerability is a new invincibility. By you being vulnerable with your team and sharing your mission with them, that would they would lean into that big time and want to follow you through fire. That's just my take.
yeah.
So Mike, thank you. It really is so cool to have you on, and now you've been consistent. It's not a one-hit wonder. It means a lot to me because I have so much respect for you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Me
thank
too.
We've got Long Island Row here. I mean, we had Mike Palmer, Brian Moran from Rockville Center, and Chuck McAllister from Garden City. Danny Dolan is on from East Meadow. Terry Lyons is on from Levittown, maybe. Terry, where are you from? You know, we didn't grow up rich like Moran and Chuck McAllister. But anyway, Brian, your hand is up, and then Chuck's next. Go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Matt. Actually, something happened to my name. It's Brian Vander Moran is my full name. So I don't know what happened, but yeah, I'll fix that for the next time. There are so many great pings from this talk this morning. And Mike, I love what you said. You know, you just described the meaning of your life. You know, it's that ministry and vocation. My work is his work. That's what Viktor Frankl wrote about. and it's called a servant life. That's probably the most noble life you can possibly lead, in service of others. And I totally agree with Matt that you don't lose anything by sharing your mission or your life's work or the meaning of your life with other people. Like you don't become less as a result. It can only inspire others. But there are a couple of points, Matt, that I just want to add to the conversation. And Marlene pinged me quite a bit with her 3 words: motivation, capacity, and opportunity. I call those carrots, right? They're all positive words. Motivate you, you have the capacity to do something. Here's a great opportunity. And I use that a lot in my life, that positive affirmations. And you know what? I realized I came to a hard truth a number of years ago when I was at one of my lowest points. Sometimes you need the carrot and sometimes you need the stick. And the stick is hard and the stick is painful. And that's why you also need other people in your life to be the stick. So here's 3 words that I'd like to add to that conversation. Discipline, commitment, accountability. I've been using those words lately for the things that I do. Are you motivated to do something, or are you committed to it? Do you have the discipline to do something, or are you relying on faith? And then who holds you accountable? Matt, you talked earlier about BHAGs, right? Big, hairy, audacious goals. That actually comes from a book by Jim Collins, I think it is, called Good to Great.
Yep.
And in that book, I wrote this quote down on my whiteboard in my office right at the very beginning of COVID. In the book, he interviews Admiral James Stockdale, who was an admiral in the Navy during the Vietnam War. He was a prisoner. He was held for a long time. He refused to leave until all of his men were gone, and he paid the price for it. But when he came home, he talked to Jim Collins about his experience, and his answer became the Stockdale paradox. And I can almost memorize it, so I'm going to try it. He goes, "You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you cannot afford to lose, with the discipline that you will need to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be."
Repeat that, please.
There you go. I feel like I'm standing up in religion at Chaminade.
Yeah. And I'm Brother Mike. Go ahead.
You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you cannot afford to lose, with the discipline you will need to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be. And I wrote that down at the beginning of the pandemic, literally like March 15th. And I said, I'm going to need this quote because I have no idea what the future holds for me right now. Because in that book, Collins asked him, he said, well, who are the ones who didn't survive? And Stockdale said, oh, that's easy. The optimists, because they said, oh, we'll be out by Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving came and they were still there. And then they said, oh, we'll be out by Christmas. And Christmas came and they were still there. And he said, eventually they died of a broken heart. Mm-hmm. So that's the key. Like you have to have the faith, and you have to recognize the opportunities in life and be positive. But you can't let that be the only thing that drives you, because we all go through hell before we get to heaven, right? You go through the valleys before you get to the mountaintops. Yeah. And so what I would say is you have those twin pillars. You have Marlene's pillars, like that positive. This is what I'm going for. This is what motivates me. The opportunity, the capacity to put myself in a position to take advantage of all that life has to offer. But I also need the commitment. Like I'm going to get up and I'm going to run in the rain and the snow, and I'm going to answer that alarm every day it goes off. Yep. and I'm committed to it. I have the discipline to it, and I have people who hold me accountable. It can't be self-accountability, because that's bullshit. Because there will be a day where you don't want to get up and do something.
100%. That's why we have coaches.
Exactly. That's
Executive coaches.
And this was not a sponsored message, but you're 100% right. That's why we have coaches.
Yep. Chuck, Brian, that was awesome. Let's move to Garden City. Chuck, Garden City, first time caller, long time listener.
Yeah, first time caller. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned my side of the tracks. That's much appreciated. I thought I was going to be left out of the till here. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I just had a couple quick comments, and I'm going to steal something from my new mentor, Brian Moran, there as I talk here. This cast and this group of people have, very quickly enabled me to strike up a quick relationship with Brian, and we've had some great conversations, and I hold that to you, Matt, for making the introduction, which is thing. But the one thing I wanted to mention is that, coming out of 2021 with the pandemic, I was, a little bit skewed and disorientated what I wanted to do. But I will tell you that by having this group and being able just to have a couple of conversations with Brian, he's realigned me with what my self-worth is and what I need to do for 2022. Brian, I stole something from you and put it in the pace part of the post chats this morning about you told me about doing 3 things every day, which I have now printed out and I have it sitting on my desk. I'll just mention the 3 key words: committed, disciplined, and accountable, which to me, those are things that were missing in my day-to-day life that I didn't even know were missing. It's now allowed me to reset for 2022 and come into 2022 with a different mindset that I didn't even know I had, which is incredible. It's enlightening, it's refreshing, it's liberating. It gives me a renewed everything on what I'm trying to achieve going forward. So as I was sitting here this morning, listening to you all, I found my key word for 2022, for myself at least, is going to be perseverance.
Perseverance.
Stay in the game and do what I need to do for this guy, and what I try to do. Sometimes it's not going to be easy, but with perseverance, all things will come true. So I just wanted to make those comments. I appreciate this group. Matt, I'm glad I came in and started with you all, and I wish everyone the best.
Chuck, it means a lot. You and I met. Chuck's from Long Island. We both live in Mooresville. The only problem I have with you, Chuck, is I've heard you now twice say y'all. Like, you can't forget your damn roots. You said y'all.
I thought he was from Texas. Jeez.
I mean, how does that?
See, it's so innate now. I don't even know.
Jeez,
Sorry, buddy.
I'm gonna go drive to your home and smack you around this morning.
Unfortunately, you know where I live.
I'll show you motivation, accountability, and discipline. Go ahead, Danny Dolan, who aspired, who had a vision growing up in East Meadow to live in Garden City. All right, is on now. Danny was and I went to St. Raphael's together, and then Holy Trinity High School, and a longtime friend. Danny, take it away, bud.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the comments. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. And Chuck, this is truly from Garden City. Okay, so I'm sitting in my office in Garden City. So the East Meadow guy has moved across the park to the other side of town.
Done good.
Let me start by just Matt and I have been friends for a long time, and I blame Matt for being a B student my whole life, because when you go to Catholic schools, St. Raphael's and Holy Trinity, you sit alphabetically. And DOH and DOL, if you had to sit behind Doherty's body your whole life in school, you couldn't see anything, So
a big Irish
day, that head, the body, you can't see crap. And the teacher wants to know why you can't see the board. Okay, so there's a reason I went to state school. All right. So anyway, I head up the sales marketing effort for a series of exchange traded funds called Sector Spiders. We created the product at Merrill Lynch 22 years ago. I kind of left with it from Merrill Lynch and moved to, I lived in Garden City, opened an office in Garden City, and have done this for the last 19 years. In this business, it's all about more, right? So it's all about how do you raise more money, more money, more money. Most people are familiar with exchange traded funds. We were the 21st through 29th ETFs offered in the US. Now there's over 3,000, and I was extremely lucky. I mean, at the end of the day, there are a lot of good things, but a lot of luck happened my way too. So in the world of assets, we have over $250 billion in assets, and the more and more and more keeps going. And I'm not complaining about that. But I think some of the comments made today by Mike and Brian particularly, you kind of start thinking about, you're approaching 60 years old. Where are you going? Like, what's the next step? What is the vision for life as opposed to more and more assets, more and more money? So I appreciate everyone's thoughts and comments here. It's very helpful. And I got some work to do in terms of my next stages of what I'm not done working. And a few of the comments made, I totally appreciate. Don't get me wrong. I'm thinking about a lot of things. I still like making money though. So that's all part of it. But I do think the next stage for me as you approach 60 is, what do I do? What's important? And how do you leave a mark when you're gone? So that's kind of where I am.
That's powerful, Danny. Thank you for sharing.
Hey, Matt,
Yes.
Matt, every day, everybody on this,
Conk, wait a second. Conk, you didn't raise your hand. You're a freaking guy from Merrick. All right.
North Merrick, North.
It just wants to put it, jump in and wants to be part of the club.
I sell technology, but I don't know where that little thing is to raise your hand.
Conk, you got 1 minute, Conk. I'm putting you on the clock.
Every day, everybody on this call is coaching and mentoring without even realizing it. Yesterday, I was in an automotive shop, and somehow the movie Field of Dreams came up. And this girl, she had to be in her 20s, never heard of the movie. She didn't even know who Kevin Costner was. So I explained, I said, you have to have a dream and a vision. And I'm after I said it, I'm like, I'm starting to coach here. And I explained to her about this movie, and she's going to go watch the movie now, so anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for sending my brother the book. He says, I don't know how I got this. And then it clicked. He goes, oh, you had him send it to me.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. All right, Robert, good to see you, man. And thank you so much. We had 18 consistent, 19 on today's call. Next call goes back to the first Tuesday of every month. I apologize for changing the date. So February 1st, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I encourage you, as David Van Daff did, bring a friend. Tiffany, you talk about magic. To me, there's magic that happens, that can happen on these calls. And if you can gain one thing, like when I went to a clinic as a coach or gave clinics, if somebody took away one thing that could help them in their life or in their business, it was a successful call. Today, we had several. You just don't know what's going to be uncovered. A homework assignment, I think, if you haven't read Man's True Meaning, read it. I've read it, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Brian recommended that book and I read it. My goal is to read 2 books a month. I don't know if that's an aggressive goal or not. Those of you who know me like Danny probably think that it's something that I can't achieve, but I'll try. And then what is your one-word goal for this year? What is your one-word goal? For me, it's self-actualization. For Tiffany, it's magic. What is that one-word goal? And find it and share it. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Now, next month, February 1st, first Tuesday of every month at 8 o'clock. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.